Now, the South African Local Government Association has expressed concern over the National Energy Regulator's decision to allow Eskom to hike tariffs by 9.6%. Salga said while it commended the smaller tariff hike, it still found it above inflation. Salga added that electricity prices have soared by 307% over the past just 13 years. Eskom had applied for an increase of 20.5%, and head of the energy and electricity distribution at Salga, Nhlanhla Ngidi, joins us now to elaborate on their reaction. Nhlanhla, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. What is your initial response and reaction to this increase now that has been granted by Nersa to Eskom?
Good afternoon, Tsafo, and good afternoon to the listeners at home. And thank you for having me. Yes, I think you've seen our media release at Salga. We are reluctantly welcoming the decision. Yes, and we understand that, and I think for Nersa is more about playing a balancing act, but still this 9.61 is still double the inflation. And if you remember, we've went through COVID in the past 2 years where all companies, including government departments, not affecting any increases on the salaries of the workers or the employees. And we've had in the past 2 years also unemployment going to as high as I think around 30%. So at this point in time, with the developing economy that we have, which is not so much growing, I don't think we are really getting it right. But sometimes it's some of those hard decisions that the regulators has to do. We are still trying to catch up, obviously. Globally, the prices of electricity now are cost reflective, which means they must reflect the cost to serve. But as a developing economy, we have a lot of dynamics to get there. It won't be very easy, but we reluctantly welcome this decision.
But there's also, of course, the issues of, so now they've gotten this increase, I mean 9.6%. It is a huge increase that they have now gotten as Eskom. But what is the possibility or the guarantee that we'll actually have stable electricity, that we won't be subjected to load shedding even as we pay more for electricity?
You are asking the right questions. And it's the questions that we also have been asking in the Nersa public hearings. I mean, in the past 2 years, we've gone through the worst load shedding and worst unreliability of power. The application of Eskom for the 20% increase, it's never guaranteed for us to get any reliable power. And it's only telling us that it's going to be paying for the increase in IPPs, which, yes, it's a good thing that IPPs are increasing. But, the rate of growth of the IPPs, unfortunately, with the system that Eskom has, which is around 40,000 megawatts. I mean, at this point in time, we only have IPPs as low as around 5,000 megawatts or 5 gigawatts. So basically, the rate of growth of IPPs, yes, it's going to help, but not with immediate effects. I can tell you that we're still going to have load shedding problems.
Let's just talk around the issues, Nhlanhla, of the impact that an increase, once again, of electricity tariffs actually has on citizens.
It's quite huge. It's quite huge. We've seen a lot of companies that have been, the highest employers in certain regions and cities closing down. Due to just a single factor, which is electricity, which has been going up with uncontrollable increases or exponential increases. And what does that mean? Obviously, if you get all these smelters, the big companies, the big employers, the smelters, the mining, and all those other industries closing down, moving to the likes of Australia, New Zealand, because there's cheap and reliable electricity there. So what does it leave us with? More unemployment. So that's the effect. And it's a ripple effect. It actually caused people to actually want to take the matters into their hand and actually rob electricity or even bypass meters to actually consume electricity for free. And that's why we've been seeing exponential increase in debt as well. Debt to Eskom by municipalities and debt to municipalities by consumers, which has reached the levels of around 300 billion at this point in time. And the debt from municipalities to Eskom is around 40 billion at this time. So it's causing chaos.
I'm glad, Nhlanhla, that you mentioned the issue of the debt. What do we know at this point, and as to how Eskom will actually be paying off their debt that they currently have?
To think about that, it's actually scary, because if you look at one of the main reasons why, I know sometimes in the public, Eskom amplifies the debt by municipality as the biggest problem, but it actually isn't. 40 billion vis-a-vis 400 billion that is owed to the World Bank and other funders. That's just a small margin. That 40 billion is a small margin. And we were supposed to finish or complete the power stations that are putting us in debt now. We were supposed to complete them in 2013, and we are paying for that now. So it's going to be a big problem going forward, because we don't even know if these power stations that are supposed to be online in 2013, are they all going to be online quite soon to give us that reliable electricity that we need if we're going to be absorbing these increases? No one knows. Maybe Eskom needs to be called to public to actually give us those answers. Are we going to get reliable electricity with these increases that we are getting? And when is the debt going to be alleviated? And I can tell you, the problems of 400 billion debt by Eskom is no way caused by the debt by municipalities. Yes, there is a problem. We agree, and we've come out as Salga and condemned the municipalities that are actually not pay Eskom, and we have been coming out and calling them out to pay what they owe to Eskom. But obviously, it's not as easy as that. A lot of systemic and structural issues that is behind the debts that we are going through right now. So it's not as easy as just transferring the money and paying Eskom. It's got a lot of problems behind it, problems that government is also aware of. Hence, a lot of interministerial task teams that have been formed to address these issues. But unfortunately, we're not seeing money in the bank in municipalities from the consumers, and we're not seeing money in the bank at Eskom by municipalities that owe Eskom. So it's quite scary, come to think of it.
But how can people be encouraged, or even the municipalities be encouraged to pay Eskom because of the ripple effect that it actually has on non-payments?
Yes, I think that's also a very important question, because encouraging, yes, that's another thing. You can go and do some PR kind of sessions or events and promoting paying for services that are consumed. And I think as part of this IGR that we've been part of as Salga, that has happened. There's been a lot of PR events that are going out there on radio and TV asking people to pay. But in reality, does it really changes the heart of a person out there who feels that he has about 500 rand on his hand and he has to pay 400 rand for electricity, but he still has to buy food for his children? So that person has a really tough choice to make. He's going to choose buying food for his children and actually bypassing electricity to get electricity, which he needs as well. So basically, we really need to play a balancing act by the utilities themselves, such as Eskom and municipalities. We really need to, I think if you saw our media statement at the end or towards the end, we are really calling for a holistic restructuring of the electricity supply industry of South Africa, because so much losses that we have in the system is due to the fact that our structure right now is still more than 50 years old or even 100 years old. We are operating with a very old structure, which has a lot of holes in it. Hence, we are going through what we're going through right now. So government really needs to look at legislating a holistic restructuring of the electricity industry so that we address all these structural and systemic issues that we have right now. They are not going anywhere if we don't do any restructuring, I can tell you.
Nhlanhla, do you think prepaid meters is anything that could possibly assist in some kind of regard for Eskom in itself when it comes to the payments where people are not paying their Eskom debt? Or would it just really not work in this instance or save Eskom in any way?
Look, to some extent, the prepaid meters help, but it depends where you put them. Because if you put them in the poor communities, I think the end state, you think that you're going to get money coming back. But you see the problems we have in this country. You have the municipality people or Eskom people actually helping out the people to bypass the prepaid meters. So someone out there or thousands of customers have found way to even bypass the prepaid meters that we think are the answer. So there's really need to, we really need to have a change of heart from the citizens themselves to understand what it means for Eskom to supply electricity, what it means for a municipality to supply electricity and ensure that there's continuity of the electricity. It means you must pay your dues for what you used, pay. But now, I don't know what else can we do to really change the hearts of people. I commend what Tswana is doing right now, cutting off everyone, including government. I think this is the way to go. We should be going that way, but I know it comes with a lot of problems as well, social issues. There are also municipal officials that get threats in other municipalities when they try to cut off some areas. They get threats to the point where they're even pointed with guns. So we're having a lot of problems that government needs to really address. And as communities, also we need to work together with government to also address those issues.
So the issue, of course, we've spoken about this earlier on in our conversation in Nhlanhla of load shedding, and we are consistently told about how the infrastructure needs to be maintained, or when it rains like it is today, we'll be told that the coal is wet. Maintenance is really an issue for Eskom at this point. What needs to be done there for us to be paying the exorbitant amounts that people will be paying for electricity now with this increase, but to actually get stable electricity?
Tshepo, people just need to account. They need to be made accountable. At Eskom, those managers or those executives that are responsible for the maintenance to take place, because right now, under this 9.61%, there is an allocation for maintenance. Then why are we not getting this maintenance done when we as the customers are going to be forking out, paying for that maintenance? But if 6 months down the line, we're going to be told that the infrastructure has not been maintained because of 1, 2, 3. But people need to be kept. People need to know when they take a job that they need to be accountable. If there's no accountability, we're going to have these problems that we're having, and people just do whatever they like because they know they're not going to be accountable for the problems that we have today.
Nhlanhla Ngidi, Salga Senior Specialist for Electricity, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Our conversation around the increase that Nersa has granted Eskom of a 9.6%.